Brian, I can't stand excuses.
I can't blame you.
I'm just not interested in excuses. I don't care whether it is somebody in one department telling me they can't crank out a lot of product. I don't care if it's somebody in another product that says that they can't find enough time in the day to do their job. Don't give me the excuses. Give me the solutions. So right now, can you imagine the excuse that I'm most concerned about of all?
No, tell me.
Oh, you can't figure. By the way, this is Brian White. And Brian is helping me out today. We're going to think about, there's a real issue here. And I'm the only one talking about it, Brian. We have the capacity at Tesla to build at least 2.5 million cars this year. They're showing 2.35 roughly on their actual quarterly statement. Okay, but there's really more than can be done in Berlin because Elon told us he can make 500,000 there. So we're really more at 2.5 million cars that could be made. And yet people are arguing about whether it'll be 2050 or 2150 or 2.2. Why not 2.5?
So let's start with the 2.5 number. 100% the capacity is there. We know Shanghai does 1 million.
At least.
So right at least. So right there, we're almost halfway there. And then you've got 3 more factories. Yes. Texas is as big as Shanghai, but it's only making the Model Y and the Cybertruck. There's no Model 3 there. So, and Cybertruck is still ramping. We can cut them some slack, but we know the capacity is huge. And in Berlin, they just had a 6,000 unit run rate for a week. Right. So we know the capacity there is 350, right. 360-ish. Right. Vacations, let's say 350. And in Texas, it's got to be 350. It's got to be 500, right? Right? So, and like you were saying with excuses, I tried to explain this to a friend of mine in college. The thing with excuses is you need an infinite supply because you don't need excuses. What you need is a reason. One reason is all it takes, but 1 million excuses won't do it. So let's look at some of the factors and quiz me, and I'll tell you, because that's why you have me, is because I know the factories, man. I know them. Yeah. So let's get into it.
Well, so I hit up Troy Teslack. I said, Troy, you're saying 2.070. 2,070,000 is it. That's it for the year. I said, that sounds crazy to me. He says, yeah, I think that's a stretch. He says, some people are saying 2.1 million. He says, I don't know how we get there. And I said, well, are you talking about production? Or are you talking about being able, is there not enough demand? And he goes, well, that's on the demand side. And I said, well, okay, but demand is fluid. Demand is not the same tomorrow as it is today. One little thing could change the demand tomorrow. Let's say that the Fed came out tomorrow and dropped interest rates by 50 basis points or something like that. And all of a sudden, the monthly amount of payment goes down. There you've got potential new sales. But that's not what Troy's talking about. Troy's really talking about, he thinks that there's just not any demand anyway. He's not thinking like a marketer, in my opinion. Sorry, Troy. I like you, and I think you do good work. All right, so I'm sitting here. I'm going to pretend like I'm the sales manager. Are you going to be the salesman? Or are you going to be, or am I going to be the salesman complaining about all the things I'm up against?
Well, let me start by eliminating some things so we don't have to talk about it.
Okay.
Let's start by talking about batteries. Are there enough batteries to increase sales by just 10% over last year? Yes, of course. Increasing battery supply by 10% is not a deal breaker, especially with the standard range ones getting LFP batteries, which are cranking out of China in very short order, and more factories are coming online in the US. Maybe not ramped by the end of the year, but there are more factories everywhere. The batteries, to me, not the reason. There could be some pressure, but not much, especially when you consider that some of the other companies that were planning to buy 500,000 cars worth of batteries have said, well, maybe next year. So right there, some fresh supply has opened up. Right. It's not the batteries. Also, I would say to your point, it's awfully early in the year to be certain about doom and gloom at the end of the year.
Giving
Now
up.
you could create a range and say, if the market doesn't, if rates don't improve, here's the bottom end of my estimate. And if rates do improve, here's a different number.
Yeah.
And not saying that now, are rates going to change? I don't know. My crystal ball is in the shop, and unfortunately, it's yeah, they're short staffed because they don't have any optimist bots working there. So my crystal ball may take a while to get back, but I don't I don't I don't share the view that we're far enough into the year to actually know what kind of demand we're seeing.
Yes.
So what's the next potential bottleneck? Production capacity itself. Well, we know we could add shifts at Berlin and Texas. We
Yeah.
could just add shifts.
Yeah.
Right there, you've got right there, you could increase output by a third, right?
Yes.
Just having one more shift
Right.
out increases output by a third. If Berlin can handle 6,000 a week, do 6,000. I mean,
Right. Just do it
you
and keep
know,
doing it.
just do it.
And then see if you can get
Another,
it.
yeah, another thing that could be missing is parts. We don't have carpet. We don't have seats. We don't have that has normalized. That part of the supply chain is back to normal. And there is nobody who makes and cuts carpet that can't increase their output by 10%, especially if you add an additional supplier. But really, you just place the order and you get the parts now that we are back to a more normal supply chain situation.
And Tesla
So-
is the 14th best supply chain company in the known world.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's actually that's great.
Yes.
So what's the next possible bottleneck? Logistics, delivery? No, I think they've got that sorted out. Well, they could need more boats. BYD is building their own boats. They've ordered their own boats to ship cars.
Chips.
But Tesla builds more locally than BYD does. BYD does not yet have factories in all the markets they hope to serve. So that doesn't seem to be the same caliber of constraint. It could be a shortage of rail cars. There is in Michigan a shortage of car carrier train rolling stock. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh,
But what happened was during the slowdown, they stopped commissioning new rolling stock car carriers, and some have aged out. And it's a problem because those are big and heavy and expensive and take time to build. Poor planning, very poor planning, very short-sighted planning. But Tesla doesn't use rolling stock as much as over the road carriers, and over the road carriers are not constrained. I actually went and talked to a guy who drives one, and I said, "Boy, I hear those are in short supply." He goes, "Car carriers? No, no, we can do those all day." And the pay per mile is reasonable because they're such big ticket items. We're not moving, low margin, high weight stuff. We're moving big money items. So delivery logistics, I don't see that as being a constraint. What else could slow them down, Randy?
well, yeah. So again, to my point really is that I think the production could be there. And if there's any kind of a bottleneck in getting from 1.8 to 2.5 in terms of producing, delivering, et cetera, if there's any bottleneck on that side of the ledger, I would expect Elon Musk to just be out there with the whip. He would just be whatever it took. He'd be out sleeping on the floor in the production area to make sure that they got the number out. I don't think that there's any chance in the world that if he wants to ship 2.5 million this year, and on the production side, that it wouldn't happen. I'm concerned about the sales side. And I know that you're not a sales manager, or maybe you have been. I don't know. You've been many things in your life.
I have. I've done a lot of sales.
Okay.
So how do you improve demand? How can we increase demand? Well, we've already seen price cuts in a number of countries, and that appears to have a positive impact.
Right.
Used vehicle sales is always a concern. How much am I going to depreciate? Well, the answer is the used ones cost almost as much as the new ones. Well, no, it's 10,000 less. Right, but there's a $7,500 credit on the new
Right.
one. So it's not this, and different states and local areas have different incentives. But there's also whole new markets that are just opening up. Just last week, the announcement was Chile.
Yes. Which is an
That's the
entire new
first,
continent.
it's a new continent. It's the first installment in the South America tour. This isn't a big market if you say so, but I mean, it is. It may not be a big market for $60,000, $70,000 cars, but for 30, 40, $5,000 cars, it's a big market. And South America has a wealth of hydroelectric power that is quite affordable. So there's an opportunity for even greater savings because of that. And so whole new markets can open up. That's one way. Additional price cuts. And I know people, oh, well, I don't like additional price cuts. The margin is still positive. Let's get them out. Because if version 12 shows up and it is the silver bullet, which I don't know if it is, I can't know. I haven't had experience with it. And it is still learning. It is still improving. If beta becomes a more viable product, you could, as Elon said, sell the cars at no margin at all and make it up in beta subscriptions or just sales. So that would add tremendous opportunity.
Brian, so let me take it another direction.
I'm ready.
I have another direction. And that is, do you think that there's anybody at Tesla who is actually literally responsible for sales and marketing, where the metric they have to hit is to move every piece of metal that can be built? I mean, Elon has had it easy. Well, in a way, he did what he says he does, which he makes a compelling product at a compelling price. Therefore, the word of mouth takes care of it. So you don't need to have an advertising budget. You don't need a PR department. You don't need, a big sales staff going out and promoting product. You don't need promotional things happening. And besides that, he has been called P.T. Barnum. He's maybe one of the best publicity guys ever in terms of coming up with clever ways to publicize. And then there's always X, where 160 million people are watching Elon on a daily basis do his antics, and therefore Tesla is being basically advertised to those people every time Elon opens his mouth. Okay, I get all that, but now you're not moving all the metal. Do you think there's anybody there that gets paid or that gets fired based on not moving all the metal? Because I don't see how we're going to get to 2.5 unless there's somebody there that's their job.
There's got to be someone for whom that's the job. We know that there is a marketing department. We don't know how big it is. We don't know what the structure is. And I'd be very surprised if they have concrete metrics that they're responsible for, because they don't appear to have the budget or the authority to do the things that they would need to do. So what could they do? I believe these people all work, right? or me, but some advertising could help. People don't understand that these cars have become affordable. That's the missing piece, at least in well-developed markets like the US and Europe. I think a lot of people just don't realize that these are affordable cars. Last week, I saw a head-to-head review between, I want to say it was a Xiaopeng or maybe it was a Neo or some Chinese maker, and the Model 3 refresh. And they found that they're about the same price. The Chinese one is a hair quicker 0 to 60 because they tuned it for it. But on every other metric, it lost. And they're the same price. Which one would you buy? I think the Chinese one looks a little cooler, but that doesn't make up. Yes, they have to do something. But not only is it the same price without the same reputation, it's also something like 800 pounds heavier. Which is crazy. So, and then you lose efficiencies with all that. But the problem is people don't necessarily know. In markets like South America, where they're just getting started, I don't think they need to advertise. I think the car's presence alone is enough. Everybody will ask you, how much is it? What are the benefits? All of that's going to happen. But we've got a new one. They sent a dozen Cybertrucks to China, even though there's no official plans to sell it there.
Right.
Have you seen the crowds that gather in front of the Tesla showroom to gawk at this bizarre beauty? It is, we've talked about this before, Randy, that is advertising you couldn't buy with any amount of money. And you can't tell me that of those thousands of people going swarming to look at the Cybertruck, that it doesn't result in more sales.
Absolutely.
If you wanted, that is beyond word of mouth. Put word of mouth separate. There is no greater halo product I have seen ever that competes with this. And the Cybertruck draws crowds everywhere it goes. There was a review just a couple days ago from, who was it? I don't remember who it was, but there was a new review of the Cybertruck. They had one for 2 days, 3 days.
Yeah.
And everywhere they went, it drew a crowd. Everyone had to ask what it was, what's going, tell me everything about it. And it was, that's one way to increase demand.
What about on the proactive side? If I was still in my early career and I was looking for a job selling something, I want the job. I'm going to go apply at Tesla today. I want the job of selling the Model 3, Model Y, or the Cybertruck to police departments. I want that job. I want to go sell it to police departments. A bunch of police departments. But I want worldwide, because there's a bunch of police departments all over the world, and they all need a lot of cars every single year. And what do they want? They want safe cars. They want cars that cost them less, and they want cars that are fast. And I don't know.
Check. All the boxes. They run out of, what happens if I run out of charge in the middle of a pursuit? Hey, buddy, you run out of gas in a pursuit too. And when a Tesla's sitting, it's not burning gas. It's just drawing a little bit of juice to keep all your cop toys on. And that's great. That's what a giant battery is very good at. And I think every time I'm at a festival or a fair and the police have a booth, I go up and ask them, hey, what do you think about electric cars? And these guys do not seem to have a very good grasp on the benefits of an electric car. And let me start with this one. The biggest benefit is in a pit maneuver, having your center of gravity so low and your wheels so firmly planted will make it the ultimate pit maneuver machine. And right there.
Yeah. And so I'm sitting here going, okay, if there's a sales manager at Tesla, I want your name. Okay. Sales and marketing manager. And you're trying to determine some new possible ways that you could move a lot of vehicles. I want to know, how come it is a headline when they sell one cop car to some podunk town in the middle of nowhere? That shouldn't be a headline. That should be like, duh. So what's going on with your police department effort? Okay, let's talk about Hertz.
They do have, by the way, a fleet department. I was able to confirm.
You found that.
I found that out at the Christmas party. There is a dedicated fleet sales department. Okay. So when Hertz bought their cajillion cars, they didn't have to type in the credit card number 10,000 times.
They didn't. Okay.
No, they were able to do it like a normal business.
I see.
And for departments, for police departments, I think it would be very easy. All you need is a liaison who can say, when you place the order, this is the price, and I will guarantee the delivery date. If I have to bump other cars, I'll do it. But if you're ordering 50 and you need them by, 6 weeks from now, make it happen. Make it happen.
Well, of course, there is a bidding process, and and they have to, and there's a set of specs, and you have to meet the specs. But that's part. I had that same thing with my stupid water bottles, and we were over at the Army and the Navy and all the different military posts as well as the military recruitment centers, and we knew what the specs were. We had to meet the specs, or we had to change the specs. We had to work with the people to change the specs. Sometimes we work with the people to change the specs to our benefit, to where nobody else could bid because nobody else had our characteristic. So, oh, you've got the best BEV in the world. Well, why don't you go work with these spec departments and get your car specs so that if it doesn't have over-the-air updates, it can't even bid. I mean, to me, it drives me crazy, Brian. At Hertz, Brian. Okay, you're the Hertz buyer.
Yeah.
And you're saying, Randy, the price, the car cost came down so fast, and we can't sell all these ones that we just got. We can't sell them at a profit. What would you do? You're the salesman. What are you going to do?
So the problem there is Hertz is too stuck in their ways. They make the experience bad for renters in ways that you and I can understand, so we don't have a problem. But I've seen too many stories of people showing up at Hertz, getting no orientation, having no idea how to charge, where to charge, what to do. The problem is, I mean, I don't know how you fix that. Hertz would need to fix it. And Hertz is now stepping back.
The salesman is responsible. I can't tell you.
Right.
If I'm going into Target,
yes,
and I sell them a bunch of my product, which I've done, I sell a bunch of product to Target, and then I go back to the buyer 6 months later, and the buyer says they're not moving through at retail. Is that the buyer's fault? Is that Target's fault? If they're not moving through at retail, it's my fault. So now I got to take a look. Is it my packaging? Is it my design? Is it the pricing? Is it the way that it's on the shelf? Is it because I'm not doing enough advertising and promotion? It's my fault. And so to me, the excuses that Hertz is now going to sell off a bunch of cars and they're going to buy a bunch of ICE cars next time instead of buying, that is the fleet manager's fault. And I'd be crucifying him right now saying, how come you didn't solve this?
Okay.
What are we going to do now?
Okay. Here's my solution. I thought of this a year ago. You need a rental app. Not from me, but for the screen. When I get into the car, there needs to be a Turo/Hertz/anybody rental screen. Absolutely. That says, first time, let's set your mirrors. Put it right there. Do you need to see a video on how to do this? And leave it in rental mode. Make the button that says, find me a charger, nice and big, so that we just took the dumb rental, local agency that may not even be trained. We just pulled them out of the equation and put all the features in that they need. A app just for that, just for fleets like that. I mean, it could be also for the motor pool. You don't know who's getting in the car from the motor pool. You may have had this car for 80,000 miles, and this could be the first time that Janet is driving it. If she hasn't driven one before, there is a learning curve. It's very quick and easy, but you still have to go through it. So there's your answer, Randy.
I know. And this just goes on and on and on. We could talk about fleets forever, but let's talk about just for one more minute, let's talk about the Midwest. Let's talk about my favorite subject in terms of where cars are not being sold right now, in terms of BEVs. The Model Y is not selling in the Midwest. The Model 3 is not selling in the Midwest. It's 2%, 3%, sometimes 1% of the total cars being sold compared to California, where it's 20-something percent. What's going on? Well, where is my sales department telling me what I need to do to fix that? Where is my sales department going out and putting on demos? A few years ago, my kids bought me for, I think it was $100 to drive a Maserati for 10 minutes, and I went to this big parking lot. It was like a closed down mall, and they had the parking lot and they had the cones set out, and people were standing in line waiting for their turn. They paid their $100 to drive a Maserati for 10 minutes. Well, guess what? The Model S Plaid is faster than a Maserati and way easier to manage. Oh my gosh, managing that Maserati, it took me the whole 10 minutes to figure out how to brake into corners instead of the way. Anyway, why not take out those Model S's and put them in some parking lots and don't charge anything, or charge $10 or whatever, and let people come in and go 0 to 60 in two seconds? They will tell their friends. They'll put it on Facebook. They'll put it on TikTok. They'll put it everywhere. I'm sorry, but these are simple.
That would be a very easy one. I think you and I talked about this and you're right, it was ages ago, but what I said is charge 20 and give it to charity.
There you go.
That or even 50 and give it to charity. That way
Sure.
you eliminate the looky-loos and TikTokers who just want free stuff. Maybe not the TikTokers, you want the media, but you eliminate the looky-loos, get real customers, butts in seats, and you're doing good for the community by donating all this money. And Tesla could really use a PR win to offset some of the negative perceptions that we've seen over the last year or two that among some has pulled down the reputation.
So I'm just going to put it out there. If you are in charge of sales and marketing and it's your job on the line, if we don't move 2.5 million this year, I want you to call Brian, because you probably don't want to call me. It's not going to be an easy conversation. Maybe Brian would be just as tough, but I'm just going to, for the moment, think that Brian is going to go easier on you. And then he'll tell me what you said. But I mean, one way or the other, we need to hear from you. We need to hear from the sales and marketing department. We don't have all these techie people are standing up and saying, let me talk at these different meetings. I want the sales and marketing person to stand up at the meeting and go, let me talk, because here's what we're going to do to move 2.5 million units this year.
And yeah, there's endless opportunity. You've got the production capacity, just got to kick that demand back into gear and let's get it done.
Yeah. So what I want you to do after you're done watching this video is to go over to My Tesla Weekend. Oh no, that's not the name anymore.
It's Futuraza. I have rebranded.
Future
AZA.
How do you pronounce it?
Futuraza. Futuraza. The idea is I looked at my top 10 videos from last year and only 2 of them were about Tesla cars. The rest were about factories and bots and other brands and other things. So diversifying. And for that matter, having Tesla in the name closes every door out there in among all manufacturers, except for one. And that door has never been open. So maybe that's a way to start demand, is by actually allowing your biggest fans to attend events and or don't. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, do you want to sell 2.5 million or not?
Go over to Futuraza. Are you changing everything to Futuraza? Is that your...
It is all rebranded. My Twitter, my X is Futuraza. My video YouTube is at Futuraza, and my Patreon is patreon.com/Futuraza. It's all unified under a single brand, Randy.
You're kind of sophisticated, man.
Yeah,
brand, I'm a marketing guy and a brand guy, and the brand that I've come up with is so clever. It's Randy Kirk.
Yes, but to be fair, you didn't come up with it. Pretty sure that was your mom, but
or my dad, or something like that. By the way,
I don't know.
Quick story, because nobody's listening anymore.
They tuned out when we started the outro. Go on, I'm here.
You're still here. So my name is Randolph William Kirk.
Oh.
And my mom always claimed that I was named after William Randolph Hearst.
Hearst, yeah.
And so how come, if I was named after him, I don't have a massive house up in Middle California?
I assume it's because of Rosebud.
Yeah, that's probably it.
There we go.
For those of you who don't understand it, Google it. All right. Thanks, Brian, for being on. And maybe we'll have
so much fun.
Yeah. All right. Bye for now. And to all of you out there, I have to say this. If I don't say this, it's just wrong. It's been great talking to you. And then I have to find the little white box.
Hey, did you get it?
I got it. All right. Well, that was fun. Way more fun.
That was fun. That was great. That was great. Yeah. I hope people watch that one, because I think there's too much good information. With the right thumbnail and title, that's going to be a good one.
Would you do it for me?
Oh. No, nope. I don't even have a guy right now. He's at a wedding.
Oh no.
He's out of town at a wedding. Here's one that my 13-year-old came up with last night. I was making a joke. He said, yeah, my classmate it was something about Mexican classmate. And he said, yeah, his name was, and he just tried to think of a Mexican name. He said, Jose. And I said, yeah, he had a twin brother, you know? You know what his name was? And the joke I was going for was, yeah,
Oh,
you know.
yes. Right.
And he said, but he didn't know that joke. And he said, Mark. And I go, Mark? He was referring to the Bash brothers, Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire. And I was like, holy shit, that's a deep cut for a 13-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
What a
And
deal.
I was like, oh, that's too good. Jose and Mark. Oh my God.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, because if there's one thing young children love, it's the 88 Oakland A's.
Yeah, right. Well, okay. So could I put my second one on hold? And
Yep.
we could do it again later this week and
Yep.
maybe tomorrow.
Anytime, man.
All right.
Well, yeah, anytime. And just and
But-
I'll dig for stuff too. And
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.